Good morning. I'm Armstrong Williams, and happy Martin Luther King holiday. How far have we come since Dr. King? Literally one out of every four American black families live below the poverty line compared to just 6% of American white families. American blacks are particularly hard hit by the economic downturn, more than twice as likely as whites to receive subprime loans. Black families are now losing their homes at an incredibly alarming rate. Substantial education begets poverty, begets violence, begets out of wedlock births, begets dropout rate in high schools, begets ending up in the penal system, begets lack of father's presence in the household. And it just goes on. Now, daily life is not changing just because there's a black face in the White House. And in some ways, I'm sad to say, it may just be getting worse. I worry that Mr. Obama's victory could undermine the push for equality by creating a sense of passivity among both black and white voters in this country. I suspect that much of Mr. Obama's crossover appeal resides in the fact that he seems safe to white voters. Like comedian Bill Cosby or former Secretary of State Colin Powell, Mr. Obama is almost a perfect American black faceplate to overcome latent biases. A homogenized black upper class person who seems to carry around none of the anger or baggage for centuries of racial injustices. If only he had the right policies, if only he understood us as Americans, then he would be an incredible success. But the jury is still out. But let me continue in the spirit of black history and Dr. Martin Luther King. You know, it was recently disclosed that in 2008, Senate Majority Leader Harry Reid suggested that Mr. Obama's success was due in part to his light-skinned appearance and ability to turn off his Negro dialect. Though there is no way to prove this, I suspect that this is the subliminal appeal to Mr. Obama's presidential candidacy. He seems to represent the exception to every black stereotype. By voting for Mr. Obama, the white voting populace was presented with a unique opportunity to vote for someone who would evoke none of the black anger, while at the same time offering them atonement for centuries of racial inequality. With the pull of a lever, white America collectively congratulated itself for moving beyond its ugly past. At the same time, American blacks seemed to be regarding the mere fact of a black face in the White House as some sign of fundamental and resounding change. But views are naive. A lot of work needs to be done to root out the systemic racism that remains in our society. And also the fact that there's a certain mentality that believes the government owes them, that they can never rise to the pinnacle of success because of their race, or that somehow the best and the worst things that happens to them has something to do with the government or the man. Until people become accountable, responsible, and realize that the best things that and the worst things that do happen to them has to do with them. No one success story, no matter how inspiring, should distract us from the systemic racism that still exists and the continued self-destruction that takes place daily in the black community. Oh yes, we've come far. Yes, there's much to celebrate, but still there's work that has to be done, not by the government and not by the white man, but by American blacks themselves, because we have the example of American blacks every day reaching the pinnacle success, regardless of what background they may have come from. Just look at who's in the White House today and just realize what you can achieve if you only believe and have the willingness to practice moral restraint, responsibility, respect, work ethic. You can be just about anything you want to be in America and anywhere else. I'm Armstrong Williams.